you're in this position right now, I know that you're probably sitting there listening to me going, bullshit. I don't blame you. There's a point in my life where I probably would have said the same thing.
Hello, 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 and welcome to Well Shit. It really is that simple. I'm Claire.
And I'm Serena. On this podcast, we help you to understand about your 12 universal needs, why they are currently not being well met,
how to meet them in ways that work for you, and how to consistently do so in quick, easy, and simple ways that fit seamlessly into your life.
We'll also help you to understand how doing so will have a positive ripple effect in literally every area of your life.
If you like what you hear, sign up for more support with meeting your needs with your weekly Universal Needs notes at theuniversalneeds.com.
And enjoy the show.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hey, everyone.
I forgot that was my line for a second. I was like, I'm supposed to say something, aren't I? It's
off to
always
a great
interesting. It's always interesting when you kind of, you're set, you know what you're going to record, you got the notes up, you hit record, and then Serena goes, what if we did something else instead? Like, I'm like, sure, why not? And actually I've kind of talked about this on previous episodes, but there's a reason we're talking about this today, because this is so relevant to my life right now that it felt like it was interesting. The thought for doing this episode came about in between recording 2 other episodes earlier today. And just to give a bit of background context, again, I've mentioned this on a previous podcast episode. I have been dealt with some back issues over the last few weeks. And like, not just like, oh, it's a little tweak. Like, I got stuck in my storage unit because my back went so badly out. And this happened on a Saturday. And normally Saturday or Sunday are my cleaning days. They're my days to kind of get my place organized, clean, and make sure everything is ready for the week ahead kind of thing. And this was like first thing Saturday morning, because it was when my friend who had her car was available to help me to go and run errands. So I hadn't got to cleaning yet, or I think I've been organizing ready for the errands in the morning or something. So there was a reason I hadn't got to cleaning yet that weekend. And so the first stop on our errands run, I just kicked my desk by mistake and I went all wobbly for a second. If you're watching on the video podcast, you'll see what's just happened. If you're not, don't worry about it. Just imagine me wobbling around the screen a little bit. So the first step on our errands run, which infuriatingly was not probably the most helpful step, was storage. So I went to storage, pulled my back really badly, had to get wheeled out on one of the storage unit carts back to the car because I couldn't walk and I couldn't stand. And then the week that followed was a little chaotic because the Monday was supposed to be the finale for Aqua Idol. I managed to get myself there and then it all got cancelled. Like, it's been a little bit chaotic. But the reason that this is all relevant is that I hadn't cleaned my house for a week, which is pretty normal in my world. I tend to clean about once a week. But I then was in a position physically where I couldn't clean for another 2 weeks after that. And not only could I not clean, but I couldn't tidy either because like bending to pick things up, not a great idea when you have lower back issues in the way that I do, that were pissed off in the way that they were. I mean, they were definitely talking to me. And so I couldn't pick things up as I was going. I was doing like the bare minimum. Like, I was literally washing the minimum dishes I needed to get me through to the next couple of days. And I was like, I mean, I had people who were offering to help me, but I can't be like, hey, my place needs cleaning. Would you take care of that for me? Like, I mean, there are some people, like, if Serena had been here, I might have been like, hey, can you help me out with this? But there are other friends who maybe aren't as close. And like, I've helped. I mean, if anyone remembers back to when Serena moved out, hands and knees rubbing her place from top to bottom, as she has done, and she's helped me with cleaning places when I've left. So like, this is something we've done for each other, but it's not something you kind of just generally ask people to do. It was more like, can you get this thing out the closet that I need? Can you get me water out of the refrigerator so I have something to drink, that kind of thing. And I'm somebody who, I like a clean house. I like a tidy house, especially with my little neurospicy tendencies. The more chaotic and less clean and less tidy my house is, the more chaotic and less clean and tidy my brain tends to be. So it amplifies what's going on. Plus, if I'm dealing with a back issue, I'm trying to relax in order to allow it to rest. I can't relax as well in a place where I can see everything that needs to be done. And we're not just talking normal levels of, okay, it's not been cleaned for a few weeks. We're talking about that in the context of being in the middle of a singing competition that meant I was using multiple costumes. I had a bunch of costume things that I bought to see if they would work that I had to return because they hadn't fitted. My costume suitcase. Yes, I have a costume suitcase. Was out in the main area. The bag that sits on top of my costume suitcase, because my costume suitcase isn't big enough for all of my costumes to fit in, was also out of I had a bunch of stuff in the space. I had the prize pack that I received from winning, that was out. So there was like a bunch of stuff that was just out and about, and it was doing my head in. It was really frustrating me. And all I could see every time I moved anywhere in my place was all the stuff that needed to be done. And then last Friday, I finally got to a point where I was far enough on in my healing to be able to clean. And first of all, it was tidying. So it was like tidying everything away so that everything was where it needed to be. And then it was starting to cleaning. So I started to clean the sides on the Friday. And then I was like, okay, I don't want to push my luck because I've done plenty and things are improving. So I then laid down and rested. And then on Saturday, I did the floors. I've been so excited about the fact that I have a clean house. Like, I have mentioned this almost every day that Serena and I have spoken between now and Friday. Can confirm, right?
Can confirm. Yes. She's very excited that her house is tidy, and not just tidy and clean.
And clean. Like, yes. Yeah. It was a lot. And I think that shows you how bad it was, that having it base level clean and tidy has made such a huge difference to me.
Mm-hmm.
So where this came from, the idea to do today's podcast, is that when we were moving between recording episodes, so as you know, we tend to record multiple episodes on the same day. And in between recording episodes, we change our shirts so that it looks like we might have recorded at different times. And also so that when I'm editing, I can see which segment belongs to which episode. So it's easier for me to do the editing. So we always change our shirts in between episodes. And I'd taken the shirt that I was wearing for the first episode off, and I'd put it on the counter. I have a kind of open plan cottage. So my living space and my kitchen, like my living area and my kitchen area, are separated by like a little bar, basically. And I'd put the top that I was wearing on the bar as I was changing. And as I was coming back in to record again, I took one look at it and I was like, I'm just going to put that straight in the laundry. Which took maybe, I don't know, another 6 steps, 8 steps. Like, I had to 4 steps to get to the laundry, dump it in, and 4 steps back again. But the interesting thing about it was, I wanted to do that because it was maintaining the space as it already was. The place was clean and tidy. So if there's one thing out of place in a generally clean and tidy place, one, you tend to notice it more because it's the thing that's different. But 2, doing that one thing, you get a real benefit to it. And it's funny because I've now turned around and I was wearing socks for the beginning of this because it was cold this morning, and now I've realized that the socks are behind me on the couch and I haven't put them away, and now it's irritating me. Okay, I'll deal with them as soon as we're done. But you get that immediate benefit because immediately it's clean and tidy again. That one action, with the exception of the socks on the couch, which weren't there when I actually did this, in fairness, because that was when I was still wearing them. Doing that one thing, immediately my place is clean and tidy again. So it becomes easier to do the one small thing when you're in maintenance mode, when you already have the place clean and tidy, and just doing that one thing. And it's interesting how because it's been such a big deal for me that the place has been clean and tidy, I've noticed how since Friday and today, I've stayed on top of things much better. Like I've been doing my dishes at almost every night. Everything is clean and ready for me to just put up first thing in the morning, or put away first thing in the morning. Like if I've got things that have been out on the site, I've put them away because I can, it takes only a little bit of effort to get the benefit of everything's clean and tidy again. Mm-hmm. Admittedly, the reason that things weren't clean and tidy before this point were because I physically was unable to do it. But it's important to remember and recognize, for me personally, that when my place isn't in that awesome, clean, tidy place, if we're doing, like we're in a process of doing a bunch of events and there's lots of stuff that's been going on and I haven't had the time and capacity because I've been so busy to keep on top of things, and things are not as clean and tidy, the motivation to put away the one thing that you're doing right this second is lower because it doesn't have the same impact as it does doing that one thing if it's the only thing that's not in that clean and tidy space. So what can end up happening is that when your place is clean, doing that one thing feels better. You see the immediate effect, you see the immediate benefit, and it's much easier to do it. When the place is untidy or not clean, our motivation to do that one thing is less because we can't see the immediate benefit. Because yes, you put that one thing away, but you can still see all the other things that are not tidy. So you don't get the same benefit from it. It doesn't feel as good doing that. And I realized that actually this is true when it comes to meeting your needs as well, which is that if your needs are well met and you notice that one of your needs takes a little bit of a hit, it's real easy to just do that one thing to top it back up to the surface again, because immediately you get that, oh, that's better, back to how it's supposed to be kind of thing. And if you're in a space where you've got multiple needs that are unmet, doing one small thing to meet one of your needs, your motivation to do that is a little bit less, because even if you do a little thing to meet that one need, apparently we're going back to medieval drinks as well, to meet that one need, not mead, you still are feeling all the other unmet needs around it. So you don't get the same kind of benefit from it. And the challenge with this is that when we are in that place where our needs are very unmet, it's more important for us to focus on doing something, anything to try to meet one, to try to start moving in the direction of having our needs met, because otherwise it degenerates really quickly. And that's the same thing if you think about your house. If your house is untidy, if your house is nice and tidy and you kind of maintain it pretty well, all of a sudden, all it takes is having a few things out and all of a sudden it degenerates real fast, because no longer do you get that same satisfaction. It's like, well, it's the kind of, that motivation to do it is less, because it's like, well, even if I do this, put this one thing away, those things are still out, and I don't have the time right now to do that, or I don't want to do those things, I don't have the capacity to do all those things right now. So just doing this one thing, what's the point? I might as well. And it's not like a conscious thing where you sit there and go, am I going to put this one thing away? But this is more of a subconscious thing. Like the more messy the place is around you, like even today, like I'm looking around, the place is in a somewhat state of disarray. Not because it's actually in disarray, but because when we record, I have an extra table that's out. I have like 3 drinks containers next to me. I've got my lights out here. And that immediately, the place isn't as clean and tidy as it was, because it's all a little bit out of whack. I also know as soon as we're done recording, I'm going to put all of this away, because I really want to get back to that place because I can feel the difference when everything is clean and tidy. But if everywhere else was clean and tidy, I might put the lights away, but maybe the table would stay out. Or you see what I mean? So it's like, it's about recognizing that it's at the time sometimes when we have the least motivation to do something around meeting our needs, that is the most important to do something to meet our needs.
Mm-hmm. It's the focusing on, if we're talking about cleaning, well, at least now that's done. And it is the same thing with your needs at first. It's like, because depending on where you're starting, or there have been times like in the recent past where I said it last time, I'll say it again. We're human. Our needs can dip. I know. Our needs can dip. We can, lose sight of taking care of them and prioritizing them for whatever the reasons may be. And it like you start going down that dip and you're like, oh fuck, what the hell? And then it's like you have to put one foot in front of the other to get out of the dip that you're in. And eventually you have to do that, whether it's all at once and you spend a whole day doing all of the things to get it clean. And as you're doing that, think like you're probably going to compromise some things as well. Like, as you're doing that, because there's so much to be done. Or if you're doing it one at a time, like, you finally get yourself out of it.
Yeah. It takes a little bit of time. And the thing about it is there's no right way out of it once you're in that space. Like, I mean, I know I'm a sort of person that, especially when it comes to cleaning, if I'm physically able, I like to do it all in one go. Cause I'm like, I want to feel the benefit of having a clean place. If I put time and effort into tidying and cleaning, I want to feel like I've got a clean space. Like spending an hour cleaning and tidying and then still feeling like I don't have a clean space, that to me isn't that's not a good fit. And you also have to work with your capacity. So it's like where I'm at right now, or where I was like Friday of last week. Friday morning, I tidied. I put everything away and I did it gently. I didn't go hell for leather, which I have been known to do at times. I was very careful and cautious with how I was doing it. I was mindful of my back. I wore my back brace while I was doing it so that I was as supported as I could be. But I did the tidying and then I stopped and I rested. Normally I wouldn't do that. Normally I would just get it all done in one go and I do however many hours it took me to get it all up and running. I mean, it's funny how it can sometimes take a while to clean a place, even if it's tiny. Like my place is very small, but like it can take a while once you do all the tidying and then you got to clean the sides and then you got to like, if you're going to do it properly, it can sometimes take a hot second. But I didn't do that because I knew where my capacity was in terms of my physical health meant that if I tried to do it all in one go, I'd end up back in a position where I wasn't able to do anything and I'd end up sliding right back down in terms of the cleaning. So I did the morning, I rested. And then I was like, I think I'm at a point where I could clean the sides because the sides don't require much like bending over. It doesn't require much, like it's the pressure on my back is going to be significantly less. So then I did that little bit and then I waited overnight. And I'm going to be honest, it was a real tough challenge for me not doing the floors on the Friday because I wanted to be able to go, it's done. I don't have to worry about this tomorrow. And the truth of the matter is that's not what was serving me best in that moment. What was serving me best in that moment was to do it in conjunction with my capacity and to listen to my capacity at the same time. I still had that motivation. I still wanted to do it, but I needed to make sure that my desire for what I wanted wasn't going to compromise my capacity. So that's what I did. I waited until the Saturday. And then when I was on the Saturday, when I'd done the floors, I'm like, oh, now I have a clean place. Like now I have an actually clean place. And the truth of the matter was I had a clean place the night before. The floors weren't in the most worst state ever. And like my sides were clean, but it was still, I knew that there was still something more to be done that was going to get me to that point, which I really wanted to get to. But when you're at that low point, when you're at that point where you've got a bunch of unmet needs or you've got a completely chaotic place, sometimes it can be very difficult to work up that motivation to get started. And the starting point, like we talked about the just one small thing episode a while back. This is one of those moments where that just one small thing is your starting point. It's like, how do you get going? Because when you do one thing, it makes it easier to do another thing, which makes it easier to do another thing, which means it's easier to do another thing, which then has you starting to see a benefit relatively quickly. Now, something that can really help with this process is that, say you're doing your just one small thing, but you want to experience a sense of completion in some respect as well. Maybe you say, okay, I'm going to clean just my bedroom today because that's the easiest room in the house for me to do. Or maybe I'm going to just do the area that I work. I'm just going to clean, like I'm going to tidy that and I'm going to clean it and I'm going to make sure that that is as I want it to be. if you do it that way, you can kind of get a benefit of both worlds, in the sense that you can be starting to get that like forward momentum starting to happen because you're doing those small things you're not expecting yourself to do. Because a lot of the time also, when you get to that point, it can feel like you've got an absolute mountain to climb. It can feel like there's so much to do that you could get overwhelmed just at the thought of it, and you can leave you stuck as to where to start and how to start, and what those first steps are to take. So by breaking it into like manageable chunks, but making that chunk something that you can complete. So like, even just like right now, I'm looking at my desk area. If I was in that place where I'm like, say the rest of my place was chaos right now, for me, the place that I work being clear and tidy and clean is probably one of the most important things, because this is the space like it's going to affect my mental processing more than anything. And I can see on my desk right now, partly because my box that I have, that normally I have all of my, I don't know, have I ever shown my house purse before?
I'm not sure.
This is my house purse. It has like all of the things that I use on the regular, that if I'm moving around the house, I'm going from my bedroom to the bathroom, I don't really take it to the bathroom, like bedroom to the living room, or I'm doing something in the kitchen, I'll bring that with me. And it's where I can like drop my phone in there. I have eye drops. I have like my chapstick. I've got my hand cream, all of those things. I've got pens and pencils in there. So if I need something like that, I have that with me. Now that at the moment, because of all the stuff I have around me while we're recording, is a little bit further away. So normally when I'm done with my, I have 2 sets of earbuds, because that way if I drain down one when we're recording, I've got something else that's fully charged, so that I don't end up running out of battery with my earbuds as we're recording. Normally, once I'm done with these, I would put them straight back in that. But at the moment, I've got a glass of smoothie between me and the box. And if you know me, I can sometimes be a little clumsy. So I don't really want to stretch across that to try and put things in that box. So I've got those in front of me. I've got a thing that enables me to have more USB things on my laptop that I'm not using right now because my microphone's going straight in. I have my chapstick in front of me. I've got my phone in front of me. That's something where I'm like, okay, in 30 seconds, I could have this area completely tidy. I mean, literally 30 seconds, probably less than that, if I'm being honest. I mean, I could probably have it done in 10 or 15 seconds. That's something go like, but that's the first thing I'm going to do. I'm going to get my workspace clear and tidy. So that would be the first thing I would do. And I get to then feel the benefit of this. And more importantly, at this point in the process, you can acknowledge yourself for doing this bit and completing this bit, whatever this bit is. It might just be doing the dishes. That might be something that's going to help as far as that's concerned. It might be doing a load of laundry and therefore your laundry basket being empty. It might be the sink in the bathroom, if you've been like doing makeup over it and there's some stuff in it. It might be just wiping around the sink in the bathroom, doing something and saying, here's the thing that I'm doing. Now, this is a helpful tool as you are going through this process anyway, which is that whole acknowledging yourself as you are taking forward steps, because you then automatically get a double bonus of whatever need you're meeting. So if you're doing something, so I'm using the cleaning analogy here, but this applies to meeting our needs as well. So it could be like, okay, I just need to take care of my security need today. And so I'm going to focus on, I'm going to do this, this, and this. And each of those things might take 30 seconds, but I'm going to do this, this, and this, because those are 3 things that are going to really take care of my security need today. And then if you acknowledge yourself for meeting your security need today, you get a double whammy, because you are meeting your security need and you're also meeting your acknowledgement need, simply by acknowledging yourself for doing the things to meet your security need. So you get 2 needs getting a benefit, and you can actually then start to look at what other needs can I get, can I meet through doing this? How can I compound the effort I'm putting in at the start so I can feel more benefit, which gives me that motivation and that lift of meeting my needs, that gives me more capacity, that enables me to take more steps forward. So for example, it might be that you take a moment to acknowledge your value need. Like, I'm prioritizing, I'm taking care of myself here by doing something that's going to make me feel better, i.e. I'm prioritizing my well-being by doing something to meet my needs, which I can then acknowledge myself for. So all of a sudden 3 needs are being met, and you're doing the same thing. You're taking a moment to acknowledge it. You're taking a moment to recognize that you are showing yourself worthy of having your needs met by doing something to meet your needs. It's not really doing a huge amount else other than going through those thought processes, which means you can do one thing that meets your needs, and all of a sudden you get a triple whammy where I'm like, oh look, this is hitting this, and this is hitting this, and this is hitting this. And when you do that, you're going to build your capacity, which then goes, okay, well, what could I do? What other need really needs taken care of right now? Maybe it's my and it might be that the needs that are not so unmet that you start off with first, so you can go, okay, my acknowledgement need is pretty well met. It's a little bit down. Well, if I can do a little bit of my acknowledgement need, well, actually that like my acknowledgement need is met again, so I don't have to worry about that anymore. You can come at it from that standpoint, or you can go the opposite direction, which is like, which is the need that really needs the most support right now? Okay, I'm going to take care of this aspect of my security need. I'm going to take care of this aspect of my value need. I'm going to take care of this aspect of my emotional experience expression need. So for example, emotional experience expression, it might be, okay, I need to process something that is up for me right now. We might not have taken care of the part of our need which relates to what emotions do we want to cultivate, but if we can just process the thing that's there, that's the thing that's biggest and most important for me right now. If I can take some time to do that, all of a sudden then I can go, oh look, okay, acknowledgement need, yeah, I'm taking care of myself, which is my value need, da, 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 da. So when you go through this process, there is a way of almost like hacking your needs. And I don't want to say hacking your needs, because sometimes I think that sounds like you're doing something you shouldn't be doing. It's more about understanding your needs well enough that you can harness them in order to support you and propel you forward with the things that you want to do.
I think especially it might be a little messy, but I've been liking to get messy lately. So with the acknowledgement, we went on a lot in the last episode about was it the last episode or the episode before? I don't know, one of the episodes recently. Just watch them all.
They're like the Pokemon of podcast. Gotta watch them all.
Yeah, and figure it out. You'll know it when you hear it. Damn it. I got it. You can support somebody in the meeting of their needs. It isn't your responsibility to. They need to be doing it for themselves and be able to do it for themselves. I'm going to start out by saying that. Now, especially with this acknowledgement piece, with little things like this, I mean, I feel that a lot of people struggle with this. Like, let's just put it in the cleaning, back into the cleaning sphere, I guess. Like, if your roommate or partner or friend does something that helps tidy your space up, or no, sorry, cancel, clear, delete that one. So if you do something I'm gonna
you're on the right track.
If your roommate does something that takes a step in the direction of progress, acknowledging it, acknowledging your appreciation for it, acknowledging how that helped your situation as well, kind of fosters the willingness to want to do more of it, and to be like, oh, wait a minute, like this did make a difference. Like they saw that me just wiping down the counters, like me and Joe all the time we're saying thank you for doing this, things that either are, I mean, like little things you wouldn't even think of, but thank you for doing this, I noticed it. Or things that, we have a kind of split in the chores, so to speak. So, but I'll thank him for doing the things that he is supposed to be doing, and vice versa. And that makes us a lot more apt to want to do little things to get us a little bit closer to where we want to be. And it's nice to also have somebody else be able to see that and be like, oh, so it actually does make a difference. And I don't feel like we need as more of we don't need that as much as reassurance anymore, but it's just kind of, it's a nice little needs hit
it sprinkles on the Sunday, right?
It sprinkles on the Sunday. Like,
well, and the thing about it is that the key with this is ensuring that you are doing it from a place of contributing, not from a place of rescuing.
Mm-hmm.
So if you haven't listened to the Shapes episode, go and listen to the Shapes episode on the drama triangle and the empowerment ecosystem. Because if you are acknowledging somebody else because they're not acknowledging themselves, or because you think they need you to because they can't do it well enough for themselves, you're not going to be supporting anyone. In fact, you're going to be negatively impacting everybody's needs. I know that Joe and Serena do this not from a place of I need you to do it, or you need me to do it rather, but more I can do this as a bonus. Like, it's not something that you can't do for yourself. It's something you absolutely can do for yourself. And I also want to do something that's nice for you as well. Like, it's like, I mean, Serena and I do it in our business. Like, we do it in the nonprofit. Like, I spent yesterday doing a fuck ton of work that was not really on my list of things to do. It wasn't really part of my job description. I mean, technically, I suppose it, in some respects it was, because it's not really anybody else's job description. That's what happens in our nonprofit. It's not anyone's job description. It kind of sits on my plate. But I did a whole bunch of work on something that's going to make a huge difference to our organization. And I notified 5 people. There were 5 people. I notified 5 people about what I'd done. There was one person who thanked me for doing it. And that was Serena. Because that's what we do. Like, the fact that it was part of my job anyway doesn't take anything away from that. But it's a nice bonus. And it's like Serena and I do it for each other all the time with the need stuff. Like, simple thing is like when we're doing podcasts, it's my job to edit it. It's Serena's job to write the show notes. So when I edit them, I send them over to Serena and tell her that they're ready for editing. And normally I'll get a thanks for taking care of that. And then Serena will ping back and let me know that the show notes are done. And I'll say, thank you for doing that. And then I'll message to let her know that they've been scheduled, and she'll thank me for that. Not because we need the acknowledgement. I'm like, I don't need Serena going, oh, good job, but it does feel nice. It's a nice little added bonus. And so when you are, I mean, yes, it is messy because we don't want to be doing that if somebody isn't doing it for themselves. Because in that situation, it might be better for us to move into the supporter role where we're not meeting the need for them, but we're supporting them in meeting it for themselves. So it could be like, you ask them a question. I'm like, have you acknowledged yourself for doing that? Like, that's a big deal. And like we talked about, like cleaning the house is one thing. Like, that's one example. Another example is cleaning yourself. Like, some people, if they're going through a tough time, they maybe haven't showered for a few days. They haven't washed their hair in a week and a half. And it'd be like, okay, them getting in the shower, they might not even actually wash anything, but getting in the shower is a step. And then the next time, like just washing themselves, but they haven't had the capacity to wash their hair yet, that's a step. But like, have you acknowledged yourself for that yet? And that's one of the things I do with clients all the time. Like, the amount of times I have sat down with a client and they've told me everything they haven't done between one session and the next. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to just point out to you, what I notice you say is that you did this, you did this, you did this, and you did this. Have you acknowledged yourself for any of those things? Oh, no. And this is the reason that this is so important, because so often we have an expectation in our minds of what we should be doing. And actually, we'll get to an episode. We've got an episode coming specifically on this. So this dovetails nicely. I did say the S word, but because we have this idea of what we should be doing. And if we don't do what we think we should be doing, we perceive that we've done nothing. Because we have this expectation that we have to do this, and anything less than that isn't good enough. Rather than us going, actually looking at what we have done and going, oh, I did this, I did this, I did this, I did this, I did this. If you do it that way, you got 4 things there that you get to acknowledge yourself for. If you do it the other way around, you're not acknowledging yourself. And in fact, you're criticizing yourself. So you're working against you're compromising your needs even more, even though you've done some things, just because you haven't done the thing that you believe that you should do. And whether that should is coming from yourself, whether it's coming from a societal expectation or conditioning or whatever it is, that's often the reason that we don't acknowledge ourselves. And the acknowledgement is so important, because when we acknowledge ourselves, we're basically saying there is value in what I'm doing. Like, we're recognizing that there is progress. And when we are doing that, it gives us more of that internal capacity of having our needs met, that energy that comes with that normally allows us to then take more forward steps. So we can take that and move it and move it and move it and move it. And I mean, so often when it comes to these sorts of things, it's so easy to get stuck in the hole.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I can see all the stuff around me that needs to be done. I don't know where to start. I don't have any motivation. And instead, what we end up doing is not just staying where we are, we end up moving backwards, because when we are taking that forward step, when we take that when we are no, sorry, not when we take that forward step, when we stay where we are and we don't take any forward steps, if we stay neutral about not taking any forward steps, we're staying where we are. If, however, we are constantly criticizing ourselves and berating ourselves and feeling guilt or feeling shame for not doing the things, not only are we not walking forward, we're walking backwards. Mm-hmm. And that's what most people do. When we're in that place, it's like not only are we not moving forward, every day we're not actually doing anything other than compromising ourselves and causing us to sink deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into the hole.
And sometimes if somebody's in that space and they're involved in relationships, your relationship has its own needs. And chances are they're compromising some of the needs of the relationship, which is then compromising the needs of the other person, which is then further compromising their needs. So we get back to that interconnectedness because they get into the hole and they're like, oh, well, you're all coming in here with me. Like, and it's
come on in, the water's warm.
Right. It can
actually the water isn't warm. Normally it's cold and dank and muddy, and it's like there's gross things under the surface,
or
like
warm,
it's not
not in a good way, like
oh yes.
I mean, I know how that sounds, and that's not even how I've been in some like warm bodies of water, and I'm like,
we lived in the like both of us have lived in the tropics, and at the heat of summer here, the water is so warm that it's no longer refreshing to be in it. You just kind of like, feel like you're in a soup. It's like, oh,
like it feels like more sweat, but the sweat has just encompassed you. You're like, oh, I'm gross, I'm wet. Well, you're in the ocean. Ew.
Yeah. Sorry, you were saying.
I'm sure I was saying.
You were talking about how like that can, like, if you're in that place, then you're not able to take care of the relationship's needs, which is then going to impact you because of the interconnectedness. And
so doing that one thing can actually be what saves you from sucking everything else in. And like, it's normal to get into a space. It's a human thing. It's nothing to be, to go into that shame spiral with, because like the people who you think have it together the most are losing their shit on the daily. Like, that's just life. That's adulting. I mean, I don't know that anybody has it where they are not impacted or potentially compromising their needs or somebody else's needs that doesn't have this knowledge of needs. Like, I mean, Claire and I fall into it too sometimes, where we're like, oh, that need, I'll take care of that need later. I'll take care of that need later. Like, I'm going to take care of this now, take care of that need. And then all of a sudden that need comes and it's like, well, here I am. Like, I am not moving. They are a wall and you have to deal with it. Like, it's just, it's hard not to get down on yourself sometimes. So that's like,
and the getting down of yourself then moves you further away from where you want to be, especially from a needs point of view. Like, I mean, it doesn't really help in terms of the other things that you might want to do either, because those other things are things that you want to do to meet your needs, which means that you're having your needs further unmet moves you further away from that place. So like, it does make sense. I think that it's really, as you are in this place, it's so easy to focus on what isn't working. It's so easy to, as I said, like where you have this idea of what you should be doing, and anything less than that becomes a criticism, versus anything over nothing becoming a positive, that you are moving in that direction. Like we've talked about this, and we've talked about this in lots of different ways. And if you find yourself in this place, like, go and listen to the episode about the small wins and the small steps, because those are things that are really going to help you from this place. And that's kind of what we're talking about here, is like doing that just one small thing, or taking just one looking for that just one small thing that's okay, or taking that just one small step that's moving you forward, is a big deal in this place. And when you are in that place, because we're so focused on what we're not doing and making ourselves feel bad for that, it's so difficult to see the forward progress that we're taking, even when it is apparent to other people. So, like, for example, I had a client several years ago who was dealing with a plethora of different issues. Like, there were lots of things that were affecting this individual. And this was one of the clients where I had this conversation where they're like, oh, I've done nothing since we spoke last. And then we talked about what they'd done. And it was like, okay, I hear this, and this. And they were like, oh, I hadn't seen that, because they weren't looking for the things they were doing. They were looking for the things they weren't doing, because their value need was unmet. So they were looking for the evidence of the fact that their value need, that they were unworthy, that there was something wrong with them, and they were finding it, even though that wasn't actually the truth of the matter. So they were in a difficult situation. And we started off with the small wins, which are what are the things that aren't absolutely shit in this situation, and then we focus on the small steps. What are the small forward steps? And the interesting thing is, because of the way that our brains work, what ends up happening is the paths of thought that we go down on a regular basis become very robust. And the thoughts that we don't do very often become very, very thin, which makes it much easier to go down the places that we're used to going. And it makes it harder to go down the routes that we're not used to going. And because we're taught as a society, generally speaking, our society teaches us to believe that we have no self-worth. Like, it teaches us to compromise our self-worth need. It constantly is telling us that we're not good enough, we're not smart enough, we're not sexy enough, we're not thin enough, we're not successful enough, whatever it is. We're very good at thinking that. And that's our go-to with a lot of us, is like, we're gonna run that line over and over and over again, because that's the easy way of doing it. And when you start to look for the small wins and take the small steps and combine the small steps with that acknowledgement, by recognizing what you are doing and acknowledging yourself for doing that, what that starts to do is it starts to build the other paths in your brain. It starts to make it easier to travel down them. And what can end up happening, so one thing I think it's safe to say about this client is that they were a consummate pessimist. So like, everything was awful all the time. There was no hope. There was no possibility. Everything was terrible. They were terrible. The world was terrible. Life was terrible. It was never going to get any better. And I can imagine people listening to that going, how the hell did you help somebody who was in that situation? Actually really easily, because we started with the small wins and the small steps. And by doing that, what happened was, this person started, rather than looking for what they were doing wrong, which was the thought process they were used to doing, they started looking for what they were doing right. Or rather than starting to look for what was wrong in the world, they were starting to look for what was right in the world. Not in the world in general, I mean in their world. What were the things that were right, that were good, or at least okay, or at least not shit? And because of that, that started to develop that line of thinking in their brains. And also, because they started to look for the small steps, they started to hone that pathway in their brain, which enabled them to be like, okay, what can I do in this situation? Rather than focusing on what's not possible and what I can't do, what can I do? Which, when you start to, again, build that pathway in the brain, it means that you're more likely to be able to find the things that you can do, because you're used to looking for them. You're starting to notice the patterns. And what they, interestingly enough, this client of mine was coming to me with their partner, and they came and had a session one day, and they were like, oh my God, we had this big breakthrough this week. And I'm like, awesome, cool. Tell me all about it. And I'm going to be honest, when they first told me about it, I didn't realize how big a deal it was. I didn't realize what the big deal was, because they were in the middle of a conversation, and one of them was drinking, the one who has been dealing with the challenges of kind of pessimism, was drinking coffee. And midway through the conversation, they made a passing comment, "It's a really good cup of coffee," and just went straight back into the conversation again. And they told me this and was like, if you're not watching the video, it was like, you see, and I'm like, and I'm like, no, I don't see. And I obviously, because of where they're at, I know this is a big deal to them, and so I couldn't be like, well, no, I don't see this actually. So I'm like, well, tell me more about that. What about that felt like such a big moment to you? Because I wanted to understand it from their point of view. And the second they explained it to me, I was like, that's fucking huge. Like, that is such a big deal. And basically what they were saying to me when they explained more about it, if you think about your average person mentioning that a cup of coffee is great, like that's not that's not like a big deal.
Me saying that, people be like, okay,
that's a Tuesday.
Yeah.
This cup of coffee is great. It's a day that ends in a Y. But for somebody who can never find anything good in anything, even when they were looking for it, which is where they were at before they came to work with me, to all of a sudden noticing something good without even looking for it, when they weren't paying any attention to it, it was just something. And what that meant was that they developed that pathway in their brain so much that they didn't even have to be actively looking for it for them to notice something good. And this is what we talk about when we talk about like neuroplasticity, and the way you can literally rewire your brain. You can get your brain, even if you've been doing one thing for a really, really long time, you can start to get it to do other things. Sometimes it'll take some effort to begin with, but eventually you get to the place where when you start to do this, and this is the thing, like now, if I'm in this place where I haven't done anything for a while, whether it's exercise, whether it's cleaning, because I've got health issues or what have you, like it doesn't feel like such a big thing to overcome, because I know I can do it now. I know it's possible to do it. And I know that very quickly I'll get to a point where it feels good again. And if I need to, I can break it into those chunks, and I can go, let me focus on this first. Let me do this piece, and then let me do this piece, and then let me do this piece. And each one of those, I get an acknowledgement, and I'm like, okay, look at me go. Okay, right. Now what the next piece is. Okay, and with that, look at me go. And now we'll get to the next piece. And so when you start to do that, it makes it so much easier. And so I'm like, if you're in this position right now, I know that you're probably sitting there listening to me going, bullshit. I don't blame you. There's a point in my life where I probably would have said the same thing. And just starting with that just one small thing, and acknowledging yourself for taking that one small step. Try it. And it doesn't have to be, you don't have to do an entire room. You don't have to do an entire need. You don't have to do all and everything shower or anything like that. Just start off with just one small thing, and acknowledge yourself for that one small thing, and allow yourself to receive that, because acknowledging it is one thing. Allowing yourself to fully receive that acknowledgement is another. Like you can go, oh yeah, good job, Claire. Versus like, that was a really good job. I'm really proud of me for doing that. Okay, cool. Thank you. Like it's like that. You're allowing it in. And then you're also going to start to notice what are the things I can acknowledge about myself. So it's like, oh, so this thing, like I have this thing in my hand. I could have put it on the side, but I actually put it in the cupboard. Yay me, look at what I did. And I could have put this on the island in my kitchen, but I actually put it in my laundry directly. Yay me. And once you start to look for those things you can acknowledge, you can start. And also once you start to feel the benefit of that acknowledgement, you're going to want to do more of the things that are going to get you to acknowledge yourself, which is going to make you feel better. And you all of a sudden that, like, it's like trying to move a boulder. Like it takes a little bit of effort to get it rolling. But once it's rolling, it doesn't take anywhere near as much to keep the momentum going. So yes, it takes a little bit of effort at the beginning. And that's why at the beginning, the acknowledgement needs to be huge, because it's like, this was a big deal. Like might seem like a small thing. I put away my earbuds or I put away my chapstick, but me doing something when I'm stationary and I'm not doing anything, that is the first step. It's like I always said that, like when I was teaching salsa, which I haven't done for a long time now because of cultural appropriation and everything, there was a point in time where I didn't know better, and I used to help with teaching beginner salsa classes. And when I taught beginning salsa classes, I never really used to put any value in it because it felt easy for me. It was something like I did, and I didn't have to think about it. I had fun while I was doing it, so I felt bad like receiving money for it because it didn't feel worthy of receiving money. Until I realized that the first salsa class anybody does is the most important one. Because if you don't do that class, you're never going to be able to do any of the other things. And same thing with any class with anything, whether it's a musical instrument, whether it is any form of dance, whether it's any form of sport, the first class, any type of craft. The first lesson that you have is the most important one, because that's the gateway to getting to do all of the other fun stuff when it comes to that thing. And this is the same thing. Like if you are in a kind of stationary place where you're not feeling motivated, you don't really want to do anything, and you do one thing, that's your point where you got to be your biggest cheerleader. Like, you did something, like you didn't want to, and you didn't have the motivation, you did that. And not in a, you're freaking awesome. Like genuinely, like that, recognizing that is the most important step for you to take. Because once you've taken that step, you have some momentum, which you can then build on if you want to. And if that's all you do and you go back to where you were before, and then you take that step again, it's still just as valid and just as important, just as worthy of acknowledgement and celebration.
It makes it easier to take that step again. Like, let's go back to the cleaning. Like, there's going to be a point where Claire's house is going to be a costume zone again, chaos, with glitter and
costume chaos.
Yeah, like that's going to happen again, whether, you know, like it's her intention to or not. Like, life be lifing and costumes be costuming and Key West.
Key Westing, yep.
Yeah. And I've found like the more that I get used to doing this just in my daily life, appreciating, like there's been times like traveling, it's really hot in the desert. Like I said, I'm in a ghost town now, and it's like, I don't really want to get dressed. I don't want to leave. Like I can just sit here and I'll be just fine. And then like, no, I want to meet my needs. I want to go out. I want to do something. I get dressed. I'm like, look at you getting dressed. We're like one step closer to leaving the house. Sometimes I don't leave the house. Sometimes I just get dressed and I'm like, you know what? Good enough. Like, it's like, and I don't get down on myself anymore about it. Where before I would go kind of into that shame spiral of like, you know, either, oh, I'm still not doing enough, you know, going on like I only did one little thing. Or if I'm in that space, I know because of the practice that I've put into this that I'm gonna get out of it. I can be like sitting dead in the middle of the hole and be like, okay, like I know it's just one small thing, and I'll be out of this hole. And it gives me hope, like that there, because it's practice, because I know I can do it, because I've witnessed myself doing it. And then it's like, oh yeah, there is hope. All right, well, let's just do one small thing. And then like Claire said, you do one small thing and then you're like, well, that felt good. Let's do another small thing. And like, okay, well, that felt good. And all of a sudden, like your head's peering out of the hole and you're like, oh shit, I made it out. Look at me. Like,
yeah. And another analogy that I think works well, like another example of where this can show up is like if you're going through some kind of breakup or some kind of heartbreak, like the more that you go through those things, the more you know you can get through those things, and the less you resist the messy bits of that. Because like a lot of the time, like initially it's like, oh, that's messy, I don't want to go anywhere near that. Like it's like, yeah, I get it, but going into the messy bit is how we're going to get to the other side of it. And like acknowledging yourself, or like, yeah, it's messy to do that. Yes, it was messy to do that journaling. Yes, it was messy to do that practice. Like I had a example of a situation just before I moved house where I was like, there was some stuff I needed to deal with, and I was hoping I was going to be able to deal with it with another person. That wasn't going to happen. So I went through and I did the process myself. I met the need for myself, and that was something to really acknowledge myself for. It was like, that was a big deal, like doing that and being able to then move forward cleanly in a way into my new place in a way that felt really good. And like, this is true. Like, it's the reason I always say when I go through any kind of breakup, it's like, I wish it was 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months from now, because I know I'm going to get to the other side. I know things are going to be fine. I know things are going to be good. And I know to get there, I got to go through it. But I also know I can do that because I've done it so many times now that I can be like, okay, this is not going to break me. It's going to be messy. It's going to be uncomfortable in the middle. And every single one of those days, every single one of those leaning into those places is another step forward. And I can acknowledge myself for that. And that gives me the impetus to kind of go on to the next step and the next step. And this is true of like anything where we're on a journey to get somewhere, like, or it's going to take multiple steps to get there. Like when it comes to, like I said, learning a new skill or a new talent or like something like that, you like each step you take is a step in the direction of you being able to really enjoy that thing, whatever it is. And it's okay to acknowledge yourself for the messy, clunky steps that happen at the beginning, because those are the most important ones that get you to that point. Like, you won't get to that point if you don't go through those first steps. You can't jump to the point where you're able to do ballet on point perfectly if you hadn't taken the steps to get there. You can't get to the point where you can pick up a musical instrument that you've never touched before in your life and immediately play your favorite song to the standard of a professional. Like, you can't get to the point where you can I don't know, swim out in the ocean if you haven't learned how to like float in the shallow end of a swimming pool or even in the shallows of the ocean. Like, each of these things, I think that's one of the things that's really important to recognize with this, is that the first step is often the hardest step, and the hardest step is often the most important one. It's the one that's most important that you recognize, because that acknowledgement for that, acknowledging that in alignment with where the acknowledgement really should be or deserves to be, is going to give you more of that impetus to take the next step and keep going. And that's how you build momentum. Anything you want to add to this? Like, this is an interesting, because this was not a planned out episode. We had some ideas of what we were going to talk about today. This was one of those, it came to me as a result of like literally moving that top into the laundry. I don't know, but I feel like this is really relatable. I know this is something I've experienced over and over again in my life with different things. And sometimes I haven't given myself an appropriate amount of acknowledgement when I've taken those first steps, which then makes it a little harder to kind of get through the rest of it. The more acknowledgement you can give yourself when you're kind of starting in those first few like slightly wobbly steps, the quicker and easier you're going to get to the point where it's going to start to flow a little bit better.
Practice makes permanence.
Exactly. Practice makes progress. I'll say, as far as this is concerned. Practice makes permanence is true also, because we use that in the program. But I think with this, it's more practice makes progress. And that's what it is. It's about acknowledging any progress is better than no progress at all. And I think that's the thing, is I remember that was one of the things that kind of came out with that client. Like, if you're taking any forward step, that's better than you staying where you are, or worse, it's better than you moving backwards. Like, you could still step backwards further even away from this. So if there's any kind of forward motion, that's worthy of acknowledgement, because when you're struggling to make any forward steps are something for celebration. Okay. Well, thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I'm really glad that we did this episode, because this went to places I didn't expect it to, but I'm glad that we went there, because I think this is going to be helpful for people. We'd love to hear from you if you found this helpful. And if there's anything that's kind of come up, you're like, oh, could you say more about this, please? We can add a little episode to our list of things to record. We'll be back next week with another episode. But in the meantime, between now and then, remember to stay safe, take care of yourself, and continue to meet your own needs. Lots of love. Bye.
Bye, friends.
That's it for today.
If you like what you heard
and would like to see some of Serena's awesome facial expressions,
check out the video podcast on YouTube.
And remember, when it comes to meeting your needs, doing just one thing creates progress, and that progress is worthy of acknowledgement.
Well, shit. It really is that simple.